The April 29th, 2025 hearing for the Board of Zoning Appeals is now in session. All right. The first order of business, we'd like to approve the minutes from our March 19th meeting that we had. Does anybody have any changes or updates to the minutes? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, minutes are approved. All right, next, we would like to ask everyone who is going to provide verbal testimony here tonight to please rise and get sworn in. Ms. Carey?
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give at this hearing shall be the truth and nothing but the truth?
All right, very good, thank you. All right. Next, we need to get some background information, the official record, notation of any objections, and other preliminary issues for this case number, which is case number 2025-01 from our staff. So
I'll jump in just real quick so everyone's on the same page. I want to run through our process real quick from our rules and procedures. So it's going to start with some preliminary matters, which include the swearing in of the witnesses, and I'll read an opening statement as well. Then we'll have the presentation of evidence and testimony by the applicants, followed by presentation of evidence and testimony of interested administrative officials and staff. Then there will be any presentation of information and testimony by those in opposition to the applicant's request, and then testimony by any other interested persons or organizations. And then there will be an opportunity for rebuttal by the applicant, followed by the formal receipt into evidence of the record by the Board of Appeals, and then any closing statements. During the hearing as well, the board members can ask questions of the applicant, our attorney, or staff in order to gather all information needed to make your decision on the request. So with that, I will jump into the opening statement. So case number 2025-01 for a conditional use request of an assisted living facility on parcel B of the Warfield property was properly advertised twice through the Carroll County Times, with one time being at least 15 days prior to today's meeting. The case was properly posted with signage on the subject property, and all adjoining neighbors were notified via certified mail. Notice was also sent to the Property Owners Association of the Parkside Warfield neighborhood with information about the hearing being distributed on their private Facebook group. So with that, we can jump into presentation of evidence and testimony from the applicant. If the board's ready to roll.
all right, please introduce yourself.
Yes, sir. I'm David Bowersox, 24 North Court Street, Westminster, Maryland. This is my first trip to this incarnation of the Sykesville Board of Zoning Appeals. But I've been doing this for longer than I'd like to admit. Tonight we're going to put on the case for the assisted living that the applicant has submitted to you. I guess for purposes of the record, I would formally move the application and the application file and its contents into the record as evidence. So we were here on, I believe, March 3rd before the Planning Commission and made a presentation at that time. At that time, the result was a unanimous vote to recommend this to you, and there was a report, a staff report was done at the time. I'm assuming you've seen that. The use we're applying for tonight is an assisted living use. It's considered an institutional office research light industrial category conditional use in the PEC zone. It's specifically set forth in that code section. So you're going to hear tonight, I believe, that this, in fact, is an assisted living use. All of our units are intended to be licensed by the state of Maryland as assisted living units. When in considering a conditional use, and if I'm, again, this is my first time, so bear with me with this bunch. Legally, a conditional use is a type of use that's legislatively presumed to be appropriate in the zoning district in which it's allowed. But these uses occasionally have some adverse impacts associated with them. That's why they're not outright permitted uses. So in Maryland, it's basically the function of a Board of Zoning Appeals to hear these conditional use applications, to make sure that, one, are there any adverse impacts? And if those adverse impacts are not unusually different, unique, more adverse than the typical adverse impacts usually associated with those kinds of conditional uses, no matter where they're located, then the conditional use is presumed to be valid. Only when those adverse impacts are proven to be greater because of this particular operation of this particular use at this particular location, there's something unusual about how it would operate on the site, that's when you can consider denying a conditional use. And that's basically all I have. If there's any other preliminary questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but otherwise, I'd like to begin presenting the case.
Board members, before he begins his presentation, he did move his application and the file into the record. Does the board accept?
Well, we were going to do that at the end. I think it was step 7 in the process that Kevin read off, but we can do that now if that's fine with you.
Yeah.
Okay. So we need a motion. What is that motion again? To accept all of your evidence?
Well,
No,
the application.
the application and the accompanying documents and the application package, I'm requesting that be admitted into evidence as part of the record.
Okay, you want to go ahead and move that?
So a motion to admit the application and the supporting documents into the record.
Second. All right, all those in favor?
Thank you.
So moved.
So I'd like to introduce you to Rob Hobson and Jeremy Ragsdale, if you want to come up. Sure. Sit.
Rob.
Hobson, Hobson.
Okay. And Jeremy.
Ragsdale.
R-A-G-S-D-A-L-E.
R-A-G-S.
D-A-L-E.
Did you say B-A-L-D?
D.
D.
Ragsdale, yes, sir.
E-A-L-E?
Yes, sir.
I got it. Thank you.
So what I would like these gentlemen to do is tell you a little bit about themselves, a little bit about, and they come from different perspectives, what their idea and intention is for the use that's being applied for tonight. And does anybody want to lead off?
I can give some background, and then I'll let Jeremy handle the details of the actual project and stuff like that. So,
All right, well, if you would.
let me stand up? Sure.
Yes, please.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. So, my name is Rob Hobson. I own Hobson Capital Partners. So, we are a real estate investment and development company. We currently we're a partner in a project in Annapolis, which is 105 units of independent living senior apartments there. And then also a partner with Jeremy and Thrive Senior Living here on Parcel B as proposed. Family moved out here, been here since 1979. Went to public schools. I was a Carroll County Elementary, Sykesville kid, and then Liberty High School. My wife and I live here. We live on Longleaf Pine, right off of Johnsville. She's an occupational therapist in the school system here in Carroll. 3 sons, 24, 21, and 19 now. All Century High School graduates and out working in the field. So yeah, just been, excited about this project. It's a hometown project. My home is maybe 2 miles as the crow flies from the site. So, very excited to do this project and excited to bring a great Class A facility to my hometown.
Thank you, Rob.
So I'm Jeremy Ragsdale. I'm the CEO and owner of Thrive Senior Living. We're based out of Atlanta. I started the company in 2008, and since inception, we have primarily grown the business through new developments. We've developed new senior living communities up and down the East Coast, so as far north as Bergen County, New Jersey, and as far south as Miami, and a few in Texas along the way. We're a developer, we're an investor, and then most importantly, we're the operator of these communities. So we don't call them facilities. That's the F word in our company. These are places where people live. It's a pretty unique business to be in, and we absolutely love it. We've been involved in about 50, just shy now of 50 different development projects in the senior living space. We've never built the same building twice. We don't want to. We're not a chain. Some of our buildings carry our brand. Some of them we create a unique brand for the local area. And we take a lot of time and effort in designing a building for each individual location and market that we're in, and to fit what the demand is in the market as well as to fit the site that we're on. So we love doing it that way, and we're specifically excited about this opportunity. There's a lot of character, I think, in what's going on there at Warfield, both architecturally and then just the way I think it kind of fits in the community, and we're excited to be a part of that. So, you want me to get anything else, or I don't want to
Stay where you are.
I don't want to steal your thunder.
Jeremy, you say you've been doing this since 2008. How many of these facilities do you have in Maryland?
We've developed, this will be our third in Maryland. We've done 2 others, one in Prince George's and one in Anne Arundel.
All right, it came up during the Planning Commission discussion. A question was asked about how many jobs would you expect to be created by this, and what type of jobs. Can you provide us any information about that?
I can, without getting exact, it'll be about 100 jobs at this community total. And that's classified, we think about that as human beings on our payroll. Some of those are part-time and some of those are full-time. If you think about that in terms of full-time equivalents or FTEs, it's about 70 that'll be employed here. And that's a mix of probably around 10 salaried employees, and the balance are hourly of one form or another. Our employees are generally fairly skilled, at the hourly level, fairly skilled. Higher paid team members, certified nurse assistants, LPNs, RNs. That's on the hourly side. And then the executive team consists of our director, our sales staff, our clinical leader, maintenance leader, people like that that are in the community. So that's sort of the mix of our employees.
Now, you don't like to use the term facility, but this will be an assisted living home, let's call it. Are you planning on licensing every one of these units
Yes, every unit will be licensed by the state of Maryland as assisted living.
as an assisted living?
Correct.
All right. Now, there was also, let me ask this, what type of care do you plan on offering? And is there a particular segment of the assisted living population you're targeting in terms of acuity of care?
So the building will, the community, not facility, will have a pretty wide range. And so this is fairly typical for assisted living communities. You can move in and receive almost no care. All your meals and food service, all of that is included. And then as your needs change and your need for care increases, we can layer on that care as each resident needs it. So the spectrum of care provided across the community is pretty wide. In some cases, it can be almost no care at all. In some cases, it can be very heavy hands-on end-of-life care. And then we'll have some units in the building, in a specific portion of the building, dedicated to memory care or Alzheimer's and dementia care. It's still licensed assisted living units, but both Thrive and the state see that differently, and it's a segregated portion of the building that's tightly secured and controlled to prevent elopement.
Question.
Yes, sir.
With the range of care, should we not assume there will be any independent living for seniors?
Independent living is really a sort of a made-up term. It's independent living is really just multifamily with
No assistance
with the restaurants.
that's needed.
Correct. Now, residents are able to move in with us without paying for care services, but it's not a price competitive option when you think about that versus an apartment or multifamily, because your base service fee, what we would call a rent here, will include food service and activities and access to other things.
Okay.
One of the things we talked about beginning of last month was the source of your residents that you, where do you anticipate them coming from?
Right. So in a market like Sykesville, we'd see somewhere around 3/4 of our residents, about 75%, coming from a 5 or 10 mile radius around the building. So
Is that consistent with your other operations?
It is. There's an exception or two in Florida where we see more people move, more like half of our residents move from further away. But in every market that we're in outside of Florida, about 75% of our residents come from a very tight radius around the building.
And there was also some discussion about emergency services. The frequency of emergency service visits to the site. Can you address that for the board?
Yeah, it's a pretty common concern. It's a pretty commonly asked question. First of all, in terms of the load on your local EMS providers, these residents already live here, and they're already being serviced in the community one way or another by EMS. We always have a contract at each one of our communities with a private ambulance service, and our first call is always to the private ambulance service. They come in, lights off, sirens off. We have a contract that calls for that. Causes less disruption. It's just generally better for everyone in our community, including our neighbors nearby. We don't want to call 911 every time there's a need. Secondly, the number of calls to 911 is surprisingly low in most of these communities. In most of our communities, it's really just a few times a month. And one of the reasons for that is that we have medical team on site. So we have an RN, LPN, people on site who can generally triage a fall or a resident and at least stabilize them to the point where their transport to the doctor can be non-emergency. So it can be a private ambulance service that picks them up and takes them to hospital without lights and sirens and burdening the EMS system. So it's a long way to say it's surprisingly low in these communities.
Those in-house emergency services available 24/7?
Yes, sir. There does have to be a team on site that can respond to an emergency pull cord or a emergency click call 24/7.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
That's it.
I don't have any more questions at this point. Is it customary for the board or anyone else to ask questions at this point, Mr. Costantini?
No, there's typically not.
Okay.
Because the board asks during the testimony.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll have
that's fair.
input a little bit later.
Okay, let me ask either of you, have you evaluated or had evaluated the impact of this facility, likely impact of this facility on neighboring properties?
Yeah, we have. We actually did Lippman Frizzell, the appraiser, Rylan Mitchell did a appraisal report for us. And we also commissioned a couple studies, traffic impact studies, to address any type of traffic flow, comparing our use compared to what was originally designated in the plan.
So I'm showing you a document.
I have this online.
Okay.
The Lippman, Frizzell, and Mitchell.
Yeah, what is the date?
It's, what is the date? This is
28th.
February 28th.
Okay, that's the one.
And then the traffic, February 27th.
We have an update on
Okay.
that. And what, are you familiar with the conclusions drawn in this report?
Yes, so Ryland Mitchell, his report on the impact on the surrounding properties was there was no adverse impact to property values adjacent to the property, anything with close proximity. As far as the traffic report, the initial report talked about our site specifically, and that was really designating how many trip counts were based on, I guess, a prior hotel use on the site, and then compared our site and our use to that use, which was less of a traffic impact. Our second letter, which Mr. Bowersox has, will address the concern I think that came up in Planning Commission about with the Enclave property and also with the site, and how that will impact the intersection of Route 32 and the entrance to Warfield. And the conclusion of that, which you'll see in the report, talks about it being no adverse impact to what was already kind of designated based on the prior use.
Now, which report is that?
This is April 23rd, traffic report.
Oh, I have that one too.
Yeah, I don't think you have this
The
one.
one in the package, it was the 27th.
Yeah, that's February 27th. This one's updated. Internet is updated.
Oh, yes, thank you. I stand corrected. Okay.
I'd like to move, I guess there are exhibits 1 and 2 into evidence.
What did you want to do?
I'd like to move them into evidence as part of the evidentiary record.
The Lippman Frizzell report and this traffic report?
Yeah, and for the sake of your record, I'm referring to Lippman Frizzell as Exhibit 1 and the traffic group Carl Wilson report as Exhibit 2.
Clarification, the one that was sent out, at least to us, prior was dated February 28th, and when you just handed us is February 3rd. Which one are you trying to enter in?
April 23rd?
No, the Lippman report.
Oh.
Value analysis.
You just handed us?
The letter on mine says February 28th.
Yes, correct.
That's what I
And then he
have.
just handed us February 3rd.
Oh,
Is
that's
that a cover
earlier.
letter for Lippman Frizzell?
The one we all have is the 28th.
Yes, the cover letter to Robert Hobson is dated February 28th.
All right.
That should be the final, I believe, Dan.
So what I would do is
This one from February 3rd is not what you want entered into the record.
it's not the latest. So I'd ask to withdraw 1 and move number 2 into evidence.
So all right, we'll do that.
You want a motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
A motion that exhibit number 1, which is the Lippman Frizzell Mitchell real estate report, and
Dated.
dated February 28th, and the exhibit number 2 being the traffic group traffic study dated April 23rd, be accepted into the record.
Second.
Second, all right, those in favor? So moved. Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2 will be in the record.
Thank you. I guess next I'd like to call Jim Mathias. Mr. Mathias, can you please state your name and address for the record?
James Mathias, 184 East Main Street, Westminster, Maryland.
Okay.
Mr. Mathias, I have left in front of you a copy of a CV, or resume. Can you identify that for us?
Yes, that is my most recent CV.
All right. And who are you associated with professionally?
I am a principal with Development Design Consultants.
All right. And how long have you been, you're a surveyor, correct?
Yes, I'm a licensed professional land surveyor.
All right. And how long have you been a licensed surveyor?
Since 1997.
All right. Have you ever testified as an expert in a Board of Zoning Appeals case?
Yes.
All right. So what is the nature of what you do for a living?
I am the principal manager of civil engineering projects, planning projects in our firm.
All right. And you have experience with site planning and site design in Carroll County
Yes.
and in Sykesville as well?
Yes.
Other jurisdictions?
Yes.
Before what boards have you been recognized as an expert witness?
Carroll County, Tawnytown, and Westminster.
All right. And you prepared the application sketch, the sketch that was submitted
I did.
with the application? I'd ask that we have Mr. Matthias recognized as an expert. So, when were you engaged by Hobson?
Excuse me, before you go on, he's requested that the board be recognized as an expert.
I motion to recognize Mr. Matthias as an expert.
No. Second? So moved.
Thank you.
You are our expert.
When were you engaged by the applicant?
Late 2024.
What were you asked to do?
I was asked to look at the subject site and to develop a plan showing the proposed improvement to submit to the town of Sykesville.
All right, and the sketch plan, the schematic sketch or concept sketch plan, that supports the application before the board tonight, right?
Correct.
I have also provided a sketch for the board, and I'd like that, if you can identify it.
Yes, it's entitled Thrive at Warfield, Plan to Accompany Conditional Use Application.
All right, and that's just a copy of what you submitted with the application?
It is.
What we submitted with the application?
It is.
All right. So, are you familiar with the town of Sykesville code for the PEC district?
Yes.
Zoning district?
Yes,
Did you confirm the applicant's property is within the PEC distance
I did.
or district?
I did.
Are the setback distances for the PEC zone shown on the sketch?
They are.
Can you describe what is portrayed on that sketch for us? Existing uses, proposed uses?
Wait, on the screens? For anybody else? We have a copy of it.
Where you put it up on the screen?
Yeah. There you go. Maybe center it up. Yeah.
And while we're waiting, I'd like to formally move the application sketch plan into evidence as exhibit number 4.
Now we can make a motion to enter this into the record.
I second.
Second, all those in favor? All approved? All right, that's done. That's entered into the record.
Can you give us a description of the site, the existing features, the proposed use?
Sure. The site is approximately 3.5 acres. It has frontage on Sykesville Road, Maryland 32, though that frontage is access limited or restricted. Also has frontage on Warfield Avenue, Springfield Avenue, and the common property line with Northrop Grumman.
All right. Does the sketch show the orientation of anticipated structures and relative to the parking infrastructure and streets and entrances to the street system?
It does.
Okay. Are the distances of the proposed use to the property lines that are shown, are they correct? We verified that?
They are.
Okay. So this parcel, are you familiar with the 2016 approved PEC preliminary plan for Warfield?
I am.
And was this site originally approved on that as a potential hotel site?
It was.
All right. Were you involved in preparing that
No,
preliminary
I
plan?
wa-
Okay.
I was not.
So at the time of the submission of that preliminary plan, were you aware of any traffic studies that were done?
No.
All right. And you're familiar with the traffic study that the April 27th, I believe it is, study of Carl Wilson?
Yes.
The traffic group?
Yes.
Does that, in your estimation, in your opinion, adequately address the traffic features that are likely to be associated with this site?
It does.
Okay. Can you tell us what those conclusions are about this site?
Generally, that there were two reports written. The first report indicated that this use would have less of a traffic impact than what was proposed as a hotel. And then the second report included the ongoing development in the Warfield complex, a 3% growth factor, and this use, and showed that there was no significant impact to the transportation infrastructure.
Okay. All right. Are you familiar with the purpose of the PEC district set forth in Code Section 180-134?
I am.
Are you aware that assisted living facilities, I'm sorry, Jeremy, are listed specifically as a conditional use in Section 180-137?
Yes.
All right. Do you have any actual construction plans? Are there any actual construction plans for a building
Not at this.
that are existing now?
Not at this time.
All right. In your opinion, will the establishment of this use on this site increase adverse impacts on adjoining or neighboring properties beyond what may already exist based on what you know?
I believe no.
Would any establishment of the site create adverse impacts at this location greater than they would ordinarily be with a similar use located elsewhere in the zone?
No.
Any indication of potential traffic safety concerns for the traffic entering and exiting the site?
None.
Any indication of significant environmental conditions or other features that the site would result in a threat to public health and safety if it's established?
No.
You believe the proposal is in an appropriate location?
I do.
Does it allow for the use to be well looked after and maintained?
Certainly.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge and in your opinion, would the establishment of the use have any kind of a negative impact on the number of people living in the area?
No.
Orderly growth of the community?
Yes. I believe it would.
A negative impact? on
No,
the
no,
orderly growth?
no negative impact.
Traffic conditions and facilities, you covered that. Any particular noise or glare or odors that you would expect would be associated with this use?
No.
That would disrupt the neighborhood?
No.
And do you think this is an appropriate use of land and structures on the site?
I think it's a very efficient use of this property.
All right. And are you familiar with the discussion regarding the Warfield development and build-out in the town's 2030 comprehensive plan?
Yes.
All right. In your opinion, does the application further the purpose of the PEC district as it's mentioned in section 180-134?
Yes.
Does the application create a greater burden on neighboring properties and infrastructure than the hotel operation would that was approved in the 2016 preliminary plan?
No.
And if you would, you say you've reviewed the 2030 comprehensive plan. Do you believe that this proposed use is consistent with that master plan, that comprehensive plan?
Yes, I do. It keeps it keeps with the mixed-use intent of the plan.
Okay. I have no further questions from Mr. Mathias. If anybody else does?
I do, but you guys have any?
No questions.
Okay, I have several questions. There have been no renderings or sketches of the building itself yet,
No,
correct?
no.
Given 190 beds, is that what you're?
I think in our in the planning commission, we talked about a range from 170 to about 190, but yeah, when we go to the next level, we'll determine that.
All right, let's say 180. At 180 beds, does Thrive generally have a full facility? Is there a generally waiting list in your facilities, and so there will be 100 and whatever, 70, 80, 90 residents?
I'll work with Jeremy.
Yes, most of our communities remain full.
Okay. Has a study been done on the impact of utilities, water, gas, electric, at this site? Now, it was previously approved for hotel, but a hotel is rarely 100% occupied. Depends on the season, I guess, and the event. So I don't know what studies may have been done in the original master plan for, a hotel in terms of utilities. But I would think this is going to be somewhat of a concentrated utility user. Do each of the rooms, if you will, do they each have their own lavatory?
Yes.
All right, so they all have shower, toilet, okay. So each of the residents has access to their own, and the ones that can get up and use it, I get that. And then the staff, and then kitchen facilities, which will require high power for some cooking equipment, and dishwashers. I assume you use reusable plates and china rather than plastic throwaway, or is that, okay. That's the other thing would be refuse pickup. Do you usually contract, since you're commercial, I guess that's a commercial usage, so you would not be depending on the town's trash hauling services?
A commercial contract.
You have a commercial contract, okay. So the question I had going back to the building itself was, how high does it have to be to get 190 beds in that footprint? That I scaled it out. It looked like it was a little over 300 feet long by a little under 200 feet wide.
Yeah, the square footage, I think, of the total building that we have just kind of generally visualized would be about 200,000 square feet, somewhere in that range.
All right, so 300, 200.
And as we refine the plan, we'll be going through a study of the unit count, block massing, different types of units that will be available in the property, which will then also lead us to, the structure itself, actually, how many stories, all that stuff. But
I mean, in that footprint, that would be at least 3 stories.
correct.
Okay,
Correct.
okay.
If I may address your concern regarding utilities, we fully expect to research the proposed usage, especially for water and sewer, as a site planning issue. And of course, will be completely tested at adequate public facilities.
And I think our planning commission, that was one of the points that they raised, that we needed more data on that potential use.
Yeah, so again, just for the purposes of this meeting, it's only for the use itself. Obviously, if it gets approved, then it will go through a much more rigorous evaluation process and design process, and that's when most of those questions will get answered.
That's what we wanted to hear, yes. So you understand that, we're not
Yep.
quality.
It wasn't being ignored, we completely understand.
I get that, okay, all right.
And we have already made progress with BG about the gas line relocation on the site. There's engineering is underway on that to figure that piece out. So that's electrical service as well as gas.
Okay. Yeah, I know that the volume of gas that they'll probably need, that needs to be determined. I know. Size of the pipes. in terms of the daily coming and going traffic, it would primarily be staff and visitors for the residents, correct? In your facilities, what percent of the residents get visitation on a daily or across the week, if you will?
I don't know that statistic. I could tell you I would assume more than half in any given week, and some probably get family that visits daily. And then a very few of them do drive. Some of our younger, more able residents are able to drive, but it's exceptionally rare.
Okay, because I was wondering how the traffic study arrived at their information. Was that factored in, and how did they estimate the number of vehicles?
There's so many thousands of assisted living facilities nationwide that the statistics and measurement on traffic is something that the consultants factor in when they...
There's established databases for that?
Exactly.
Okay.
Out of curiosity, does that include things like deliveries that wouldn't normally exist in like a hotel structure?
It does.
Okay.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Is that, again, clarification, is that where you mentioned 3% growth expected? Is that where that figure also comes
The
from?
3% growth was in the lag between when the original study was approved and to date.
Okay. Another question for our CEO, Jeremy Ragsdale. Yeah. Experience through your facilities, do you have information on any local business that your facilities tend to use so that it spurns? There's a little bit of, what do you call it, velocity of money, so to speak. There's some, that causes some extra economic activity in the community?
Yes, sir. There are certain businesses that tend to sort of flock around or want to co-locate with us or form partnerships, either formal or informal, down the road. Most of our residents receive some sort of physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy. A lot of those companies come in and provide that therapy in our building. Those are all local. Most of our food is sourced locally. 10 years ago, we used to source all of our foods from Cisco and U.S. Foods and Gordon and the big food suppliers, and we have moved to more of a local and farm to table is such a cliche, but just more of a fresh local sourcing path for food, and it's actually been economically better for us as well. So
You do raw food prep there?
we do.
Okay, you're not buying from a commissary prepared?
We are not. It's
Okay.
a full commercial kitchen. We do not outsource any element of service, so all of that is done in-house by our chefs. And the food service in senior living it's evolved a lot if you hadn't experienced it in the past 5 or 10 years. Where chefs are really getting to know the residents and their preferences, and the plating and the way it's served and the way it smells, and all of that is so important to resident health that it's now become a real forefront issue in our space. It's not bragging on us, it's not just us, but across the industry, it's a lot better than you probably think it is.
What would be if this plan gets that, you build and you get residents in, what would you expect to see the initial local businesses that would be called upon or that would be incentivized to be servicing your facility?
Well, from a facilities standpoint, we'll have maintenance contracts on all of the equipment. We'll have a landscaping contract. We do outsource that, so we'll have a landscaping contract with a local landscaper. Snow removal, always local. A lot of the physical plant things are contracts with local vendors. And this is, we're not replacing a business. This is something brand new. So that's new business for local small business here in Sykesville.
All your facilities maintenance?
That's correct.
Okay, I'm familiar with that.
That's right.
Let's see, what else did I have? Now let me take a step back. Have I spawned some other questions?
Yeah, no, I'm
Moving along, all right.
Yeah.
Was there anything else that was brought up in the initial meetings with the Planning Commission that needed to be answered, that were designed to be answered here?
None that need to be answered at this time. I'll cover some of these in the staff report.
Okay, good. All right, if that's true, then let me go back to, is there any other information you want entered into the record, Mr. Bowersox?
No. Jim, do you have anything further you'd like to add?
No, sir.
Gentlemen?
No, sir.
Okay.
All right, very
Thank
good.
you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, now, is there someone else who would like to speak up about this project? Or has any insight, any testimony to give here at this hearing?
Again, if the applicant has somebody that they want to have come, that's fine, but,
Oh, I thought we heard all of that. Okay.
Yeah, next it would be the staff report, and then we can ask the public.
Oh, okay. Do we have any other? We've done all. All right, well, it says, I guess we don't have anything to go through number 5 or 6, so then
We need number 3, sir.
The presentation from staff.
oh, that's right, number 3. Okay, all right, very good. So then we'll have the presentation of evidence and testimony from our staff, administration here, using the staff report?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Joe Costantini. I'm the town manager and zoning administrator for the town of Sykesville. We will be submitting our staff report as evidence from the staff side of things. Again, everybody was provided a copy, so I'll do a brief summary of what that staff report actually says. So as what's already been previously stated, this is the applicant is requesting a conditional use approval of an assisted living facility located on parcel B in the Warfield development. Warfield is a planned mixed-use development and has an approved preliminary development plan, including residential, office, and retail components. Parcel B is currently shown as a hotel site. So assisted living is not a defined term in the town zoning ordinance, so for the purposes of this case, we are using a state definition that's located in Chapter 19, Section 1801 of the Health General Code for the assisted living program. Let's see, the facility proposed will be between 170 and 190 units, with resident living quarters separate from communal dining areas, as you can see on the first floor site concept plan that was included as part of the application. The Sykesville Planning Commission did evaluate this request as is required on all conditional uses in the PEC zone, and has provided a written recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeals, which is included as an attachment to this staff report. So again, that is also entered into the record for your consideration. As far as analysis goes, any conditional use has to go through the same criteria analysis as anything else that's being requested. There are a number of categories which I will go through briefly. So the number of people residing or working in the immediate area of concern. So typically these assisted living facilities have a positive effect on the demand for new local businesses, including medical clinics and small retail, to serve additional population and staff at the facility. So we consider that a positive impact. As far as the orderly growth of Sykesville, parcel B is located in an area designated for future development as mixed use in the town's comprehensive plan. So again, that does meet with the criteria in the approved 2030 Vision 2030. Traffic conditions and facilities. The updated traffic impact analysis indicates that assisted living uses would generate approximately 46 fewer in and out trips during the AM peak hour and 26 fewer trips, in and out trips during the PM peak hours. We did just receive, that was entered into the record by the applicant, a revised traffic impact statement that also factors in the enclave property and some of the other adjacent properties and its overall impact. Though we haven't had a chance to review that yet, we do believe that the methods used are part of the generally accepted practices for traffic generation analysis, so we have no reason to question whether or not that those conclusions are inaccurate. The effect of such use on peaceful enjoyment of people in their homes. Generally, assisted living uses are considered very low impact. The only obvious concern is the potential number of emergency calls that may be generated by facilities in this category. and the number of deliveries expected on a daily or weekly basis. As the applicant has already testified, they will be using a private service with no lights, no sirens policies. That addresses that potential concern. We would ask that additional information on deliveries as this project potentially moves forward is made available so that the general public will know exactly how many deliveries on a daily or weekly basis would be.
Point with that too, I mean to interject, but with deliveries, big difference in that particular location between maneuvering a single chassis vehicle and a tractor trailer. Okay, so that would be a special consideration in the site design and the impact.
So again, we would ask the board, as making your recommendation, that just be something that's added as a condition that when the planning commission is looking at site plan is addressed.
Yes.
As far as the conservation of property values, a well-planned, well-executed facility could prove very positive for the surrounding areas. We do recommend strict adherence to the town's Warfield Commercial Center new construction design guidelines and standards for signs. This is the 2017 edition. This will direct bulk standards, regulations, and site development rules. The applicants have provided the property value consultant report, which concludes that the presence of an assisted living facility is not a detrimental factor in the decision-making of potential home buyers, and that the proposed assisted living facility on parcel B would not have any negative impact on the value of surrounding residential real estate. The effects of odors, dust, gas, smoke, fumes, vibrations, glare, and noise upon the use of surrounding properties. Outside of the initial construction activity, assisted living facilities should have little impact regarding to the aforementioned items. Delivery noises, emergency vehicles responding to the site would be the most common noise concern, but as we've already discussed, those should be minimal. As for the most appropriate use of land and structure, obviously right now the Warfield Commerce and Cultural Center is a mixed-use property. I've broken down what's currently included on the approved preliminary plan for parcels A, C, D, E, F, and H. This is a relatively isolated parcel. This was a conversation that the Planning Commission had during their analysis and then ultimate recommendation to the board that changing this from a hotel to assisted living did make some sense, given that it's kind of on an island by itself.
Yes.
As far as decisions of the court, there was no significant court cases regarding assisted living facilities that were found or that would be impactful to the decision that the board is about to make. As far as the purpose of these regulations as set forth herein, so I did provide the board with a copy of the Planned Employment Center purpose statement. Again, these are just several items that could be considered when making your recommendation on the conditional use, but as previously stated and what the Planning Commission has recommended is, given that it's somewhat of an isolated parcel, that this would actually be a benefit to the development and the surrounding neighborhoods. And then as far as types and kind of structures in the vicinity where public gatherings may be held, such as schools, churches, and the like, really there's only one close by, and that's Sykesville Middle School. That's actually on the other side of 32 and likely wouldn't have much of any effect on that particular facility. Let's see, as far as town staff is concerned, we concur with the written recommendations of the Sykesville Planning Commission. Those recommendations are in the letter that was sent to the Board of Zoning Appeals dated April 7th, 2025, in which the Commission recommends approval of the conditional use request with the following conditions to ensure compliance with all applicable provisions of the town code. So the applicant shall comply with federal, state, and local rules and regulations applicable to the licensing, establishment, operation, and maintenance of an assisted living facility. We would ask that the board make a condition recommending that additional information be obtained regarding the number of deliveries, timings of deliveries, what types of trucks are going to be used in and out, and that could be done at the site plan level. And then the applicant shall strictly adhere to the town's Warfield Commercial Center new construction guidelines and standards for signs, the 2017 edition, when addressing bulk regulations and site development. Staff did provide a recommended motion for the board for your consideration, but staff is available for any questions if you have any. Otherwise, we are in agreement with the planning commission recommendation.
Okay. All right, so now I guess we have, is there anyone else who has any input to this project as presented at the hearing? No one. All right. So then, have we received all documents into the record that you wish to be entered?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
Okay. Well, at that point, do you have any closing statements that you'd like to make?
Briefly, I'll just sum up. This is a conditional use that we've been hearing tonight. It is a specifically provided conditional use, specifically allowed at this location, assuming you don't find any adverse impacts that are particularly egregious or greater about this particular use than you would ordinarily expect. You've heard from Mr. Ragsdale and Mr. Hobson. These aren't neophytes in this game. They have a wealth of information, including some experience in Maryland and all up and down the eastern seaboard. So this is going to be licensed under the state code provisions and COMAR provisions, as I believe Mr. Cosentini alluded to. I guess to cut to the chase, there is no testimony before you of any adverse impacts that are expected in connection with a conditional use analysis that would result from this proposal, as you've heard tonight. And if there's not any adverse impacts that have been identified, no evidence to support it, there can't be adverse impacts from this proposal that are any worse at this location because of the nature of this specific proposal than it would be elsewhere in the zone. We would respectfully request that you approve the conditional use. And I will make another request. As your council knows, there is a statutory requirement that if you're going to approve a conditional use, this is state code, that there be a finding of consistency with the plan. And we would ask that any decision specifically indicate that finding. And besides that, I have nothing further.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Any questions, comments, any decision? I don't see any problem with you. No. All right. Thank you. And thank you, Joe, for the input, the background and input from the commission and the staff. At this level, from the information and testimony provided and the evidence, the reports that have been provided, the staff reports, I don't see a problem with this. And I would make a motion to the board here that we go ahead and approve this conditional use at this juncture as the project is presented. I hear a second?
With the conditions already.
With the conditions as stated in here, with the three conditions that were suggested.
And then there,
Mr. Chair, I would request that you amend the motion to approve to state that the board would move to approve the conditional use request made by Thrive at Warfield for an assisted living facility located on parcel B of the Warfield Commerce and Cultural Center, based on a finding that it is consistent with the Town of Sykesville Comprehensive Plan, it complies with the purposes of the PEC zone, and it also meets the criteria of Section 180-109 of the Town Code, and with the conditions that are stated, the three conditions that are stated in the staff report.
All right, is that it? Accept that as a motion? All right. I'll second that motion. So we will approve as Lynn has stated. You have that on the record? Do you have that
Who
motion?
seconded the motion?
We seconded it. I seconded it.
Actually, you made the motion and
All right.
then accepted the amendments if someone else
All right,
wants to
well,
second.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Paul.
I thought you said I second.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so do you have the verbiage on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So the motion, then all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's unanimous, the motion's carried. That's accepted, the conditional use. Thank you very much. That's official. All right, so I guess at this point, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
We are adjourned.
Sure.
Thank you.